Thanksgiving is one of the most famous holidays for good reason. The concept of being thankful for what you got is a great message that continues to stand the test of time. But oddly enough, despite it being a celebrated holiday, it doesn't really have any movies around it. Not like Christmas or Halloween anyway. I mean, you got good Thanksgiving movies like A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and especially the cinematic classic known as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and of course that really shitty Thanksgiving movie we don't talk about. But besides that, not a lot of Thanksgiving movies. But what if I told you there was a Thanksgiving movie so charming, so funny, so engaging, and so good that it deserves to be remembered as a Thanksgiving classic, and that movie is none other than Free Birds? A very bizarre case in the fact that this movie didn't have a lot of trailers, and it kind of slipped through the cracks of the public zeitgeist when it released, and because of that, it crashed and burned at the box office, while getting slammed by critics and audiences. And even though I thought it was going to be just another lowbrow generic animated flick, since there was a lot of them around that time, I saw it for my birthday at the Picture Show in 2014, and I was taken aback by how good this movie was, and it is a film that deserves more love and attention. So let's talk about why Free Birds is underrated. Okay, so the story for the movie is incredibly brilliant and creative. Reggie is a turkey that is an outcast of his kind, and constantly tries to warn the other turkeys that the humans are fattening them up so they can eat them for Thanksgiving dinner. They don't believe him until one day they see for themselves, but instead of embracing him they throw him out to be taken by the humans and eaten for Thanksgiving. But luckily they are looking for a turkey to pardon at that moment, and he ends up being it. He then lives a life of luxury and never has to worry about being served up for Thanksgiving. He's just living it up, watching telenovelas and eating pizza every night, just living the good life, until this wild turkey named Jake kidnaps him and recruits him to go on a mission to go back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu. And so Reggie and Jake eventually do travel back in time via time machine, and now they have to find a way to change the past and save all turkey kind. Like I said, the story is brilliant for a Thanksgiving movie. This movie has one of the most original and interesting stories in any animated movie or movie period. Reggie may seem like a typical Kushko-type character, but he's got a lot of depth, and you really understand why he is the way he is, and you want to see him find turkeys that'll love and accept him for who he is. I might also add that he is a far more likable Kushko character than his most famous role, Lightning McQueen, who really didn't have a reason to be a jerk other than just because. So far so good, we got a pretty good protagonist. How do the other characters fare? Pretty good actually. There's Jake, who is annoying at times, but his quest is admirable, and he is an incredibly hilarious turkey. I especially love his rivalry with the turkey chief's son at the second act, and his energetic personality perfectly clashes with the main character's no-nonsense strict personality to the point where they create some of the funniest scenes in the movie. Honestly, an underrated duo. You might think Jenny is just a typical love interest at first, but no, she has a lot of personality, and she is a very honorable character. She will do anything to protect her tribe. She even declines Reggie's offer to take her to the future because of her love for her family. She is not afraid to speak her mind or express herself, and is even willing to fight creatures that are way bigger than her and more skilled with weapons, all because of devoted she is to protect her people. Guys, this is seriously one badass female character. How is she so underrated? As for the other characters like the president, the daughter, and the other turkeys, they are all incredibly good side characters. They know when to be funny and when to be serious, and honestly this movie has the perfect balance of silliness and somberness. When the chief dies you feel that shit. Not as much as when Mufasa died, but still really powerful stuff. The villain Miles Standish is incredibly good. Inaccuracy aside, his determination to get turkeys for the feast by any means necessary is both menacing and incredibly terrifying, especially when he destroys their home. He is such a monster, and it's so satisfying when he finally does away with himself and blows himself through the time portal and the turkeys are safe. Underrated villain death. Now as for the animation, this is honestly one of the elements of the film that isn't great. It was done by Real FX Animation Studios, who mostly did animation for direct-to-DVD sequels and a few theme park attractions, if I remember correctly, and this was their first animated feature, and it really shows. Now the animation isn't bad, but compared to all the other animated films that came out around that time, it doesn't look that impressive. Now they would vastly improve their animation with their next animated feature, The Book of Life, the next year, and then just give up doing theatrical animated films entirely for some reason. Now the animation itself does the job well. The character animation is smooth and fluent. The colors are still good even though it's not great. I still think they could have added a lot more color to make it pop better and give it more energy. The backgrounds are solid for the most part, and everything else is well made and decent. Again, not the greatest animation, but it does the job. As for the humor, it's pretty funny. It's not one of the comedic greats, but most of the jokes stick the landing. It's mostly slapstick, but there's also a lot of clever jokes like breaking the fourth wall jokes, innuendo jokes, and many more that are incredibly funny, not gut-bustingly but still funny nonetheless. The scores and music for the film is not the greatest, but it's still pretty good. The opening score perfectly sets up the world and tone, and the action scores are pretty enthralling, and the ending song is pretty decent, but not that memorable. Not to say that it's bad or anything, far from it. But it's just nothing that spectacular, especially compared to a lot of other animated films that came out in 2013. Overall, guys, Freebirds is a really good movie. It's not perfect and it does have a few things holding it back from being incredible, but the things it gets right, it really gets right. The characters are likable and endearing. The story is refreshingly and creatively original, and the heart is very emotional and effective. This is a great Thanksgiving movie to watch every year, especially if your kids are too young to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This movie deserves a lot more love and attention, and should be a staple of Thanksgiving cinema. It's not one of the best movies of all time, and it's certainly not a movie I watch often, but I enjoy watching it every time I do, and I really wish we got a sequel to this film. But sadly, even though they left it open for one, with Jake coming back to the past and setting up the possibility of them going on another mission to get Turducken off the menu, it's sadly most likely never going to happen. The film underperformed and got slandered by critics and audiences, and Real FX moved on to developing a sequel to The Book of Life, which never came out. But besides the point, this movie deserves so much better than it was dealt, and deserves to be remembered as a Thanksgiving classic. Check it out and gobble it up, and that is why Freebirds is underrated. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.